Hello, hello. Welcome to week three. Things seem to be going pretty well from what I've seen. I've really enjoyed meeting with many of you last week and this week. It's been good to hear from you and see faces and hear voices. That has been awesome. Miss seeing people in person always when I teach an online class, but when you're stuck at home all the time, it's even lonelier. I hope y'all are staying warm. Though by the time some of you are watching this, the weather's probably much nicer. But I am in my old drafty house in a pile of blankets, working at the desk today. I have a standing desk, and I borrowed my husband's treadmill desk for a while, and I'm too cold to walk on the treadmill or stand up today. I'm just bundled up here, working through grading. So I've returned checkpoints. I've returned ad approvals, and I'm still working my way through a few discussion board posts from week one and through your journals. Part of this is that I'm just slow, and the start of the semester has a lot going on and a lot to do, so it's taking me a little longer. Part of it is your fault because you asked me too many profound questions on the discussion board, which was awesome. Again, I'm saying awesome too much today. I've had too much coffee. It was nice to be able to learn about you all and think a little bit and get back to you. So it took me a while, and you all had a lot of good things to say and are saying a lot of good things about mother tongue as well. So it's just taking me a little while to read everything and get it back to you. I had mentioned it last time, but I'll say it again. Don't worry about not having your journal ones back yet. You won't really need the feedback on those until later in week three and week four, because I'm giving feedback on the MLA formatting and I'm reading what you have to say and having a little conversation with you there. But MLA document formatting is the feedback you'll need from that as we move forward. So don't need it quite yet. So going back to mother tongue, that was an article or an essay, I should say, that resonated with a lot of you, and I was glad to read that in your posts. And Amy Tan does reach a really large audience in this piece. She does definitely reach out to readers who have an experience like hers of growing up in an immigrant family or non-native English-speaking family, having to help a parent or parents, and having a lot of challenges, plus the challenges that she faced in her education and early in her career. The things that she says about being sort of pigeonholed and pushed on a certain path because it's what people felt she had an aptitude for, maybe based on her language, maybe based on maybe just based on stereotyping, honestly. So it was interesting to read that. It's always been interesting to me, and interesting again now that I'm in the position of an educator. And one of the things that I always want students to do is to not feel like they have to hyper-focus in one area. I know that, and I shouldn't say I'm an academic advisor. I should be like trying to get you on a narrow path. But part of the educational experience is learning, trying new things, and figuring out where your strengths lie and where your abilities lie, but also where your desires lie as far as a career is concerned. So don't feel like you have to limit yourself. A well-rounded education is a good thing. But of course, the piece deals a lot with the communication trouble that her mother had, the poor treatment that her mother got, and how they had to navigate that together. And there are a lot of reasons that I wanted you all to read Mother Tongue as we got started with the semester. And one of the reasons is I wanted us to have a conversation about standard English and dialect. Standard English is, kind of the proper version of the language, all of the grammatical rules typically thought of as being formal, used in academic and professional environments. But the thing is, we don't talk that way. I mean, I don't talk that way, and I don't think most of you talk that way. We do not speak standard English. All of us speak a dialect. A dialect is a variation on a language, and dialect is shaped by a lot of factors: location, culture, family. Like, there's so many factors in dialect, and it would be fun to sit around and talk about it. But I'm talking to the internet and not you all in a synchronous session. So. The way that we talk is it says a lot about us, and it's part of who we are. The unfortunate thing is that people make judgments based on the way that we communicate. It is just a fact of life, and we see that at work in the way that Amy Tan's mother was treated. And I see that changing. I've seen it change over the last decade, but it's still there. And students are often self-conscious about their writing, especially, I'm going to give feedback. You're going to get comments, and you're going to see, some strike throughs and changes that need to be made to essays. And I've said it before to you all, but I want to say it again. That's not a value judgment on you. I am here to show you how to use the rules of standard English, how to turn that on when you need to turn that on. I'm not here to change the way that you communicate with your friends and with your family. We change the way that we talk based on who we're with. Amy Tan talks about that in the beginning, when she's at that talk that sort of spurred this whole essay, and she realizes that she's speaking in a way that's very different from the way she speaks to her mother. We speak differently. I speak differently to my kid than I do to my husband. I speak differently when I'm in the classroom than I do when I'm outside the classroom. My husband makes fun of me for it. He said, I'll say something that's really grammatically incorrect, and he'll say, "Oh, really, English teacher?" And has to give me a hard time about it. And, the way that we speak, we change it based on who we're communicating with. And this is called code switching. And sometimes we do it intentionally. For instance, if you're in a job interview, right, you're going to put your best foot forward. You're going to try to speak properly. But sometimes it just kind of happens that we just automatically speak a different way with a group of friends from the way that we speak at work, from the way that we speak in a classroom at school. And there's a lot of linguistic study on this. Also, if you are into linguistics, I was lucky to take a few linguistics classes when I was at NC State. The North Carolina Language and Life Project talks about a lot of this stuff, and they have they've done a variety of documentaries about linguistics and communication. And one of their more recent ones, I think it came out in 2019, is called Talking Black in America. And they're going to make that one available on their site for Black History Month, which is I'm super excited about. I think you'll be able to watch it for free on the YouTube channel. But they have tons of dialect documentaries. They've got one on American Sign Language. They've done a lot on Mountain and Outer Banks dialect. Walt Wolfram calls North Carolina dialect heaven because we have so many different ways of communication here. They've also done work on Native American and Latinx speech as well. So really cool stuff. If this interests you and you want to go check it out. Sorry, that was a big tangent. I shouldn't have tangents on a recorded video, but I do. So a few of you in your discussion post, and granted I've got about 15 left to read, so maybe it was more of you, talked about how this essay really highlighted language and the power that it has, both when the power that we can wield when we communicate well, and the power that we lose when we don't, or when people perceive that we don't communicate well. And I want you to keep that in mind. And not in a negative way, but that by changing the way you communicate, you can affect change in some way. There are, different ways we communicate, different connotations. A connotation is the definition of a word plus our perception of it. So how we perceive the word, what we perceive that word to mean, rather than the dictionary definition, which would be denotation. Denotation, dictionary definition, connotation, perceived definition. And the way that we talk about ourselves and the way that we talk about others affects our perception of them as well. So I want you to keep this in mind, especially if you are a person who has a tendency to do negative self-talk. And I know that a lot of us do that at times. But think about it, if you can maybe change the audio in your head about something that you're feeling negatively about. And I'm not trying to like sugarcoat things or, say that things aren't difficult, but think about just as one little step, how you can change that conversation that you have in your head. But at any rate, I'm glad that Mother Tongue resonated with a lot of you and that it was an enjoyable and thought-provoking read for many of you as well. So, first essay. Ad evaluation. So first of all, again, don't panic about this. We're doing this over the course of a couple weeks. Some of you have been trying to I want to turn in an essay. I'm like, slow down. We have stuff to do first. So first up was the ad approval assignment, and I've returned feedback on all of those that I received. If you did not get a 100, you definitely need to do something. So maybe it was a fact of not including the publication information. So where you got the ad, the name of the magazine, where the ad appeared in the magazine, when the magazine was published. Maybe what you used was not an ad from a print magazine and you need to take care of that. At any rate, if there was an issue, please email me the corrected whatever. So if you didn't submit an image of an ad, if you didn't submit that information, whatever it is, definitely get that to me. I'll update your grade. But most importantly, you'll have something good to work with as we move forward this week with descriptions. Let's see, if you haven't done the ad approval yet, if you needed an ad, I did post an announcement yesterday with a few magazine ads. There's 2 folders in Google Drive, 1 for each magazine. You need to pick an ad though. Some folks are sending me magazine covers. You need to pick an ad from the magazine. I included the cover and some context information to help you, when we need to talk about what's audience and all that stuff for the analysis later, make sure you're working with an ad. Okay, so the next piece is the description. So with description, we have a few things to keep in mind. And I think that everybody's pretty familiar with the concept of description. You've had to describe things before. We use descriptions all the time to help us now in this age of online shopping. So a description needs to be organized. Okay, there are a variety of ways that you can organize a prescription. Let me try that again. A description. Now, it could be spatially. So let me grab an ad. Hang tight. Should have had this ready before I hit record, but I got distracted. A lot of email today. So you could describe an ad spatially. Here's one for Special K protein. So I could perhaps start at the top and work my way down. I don't really like that for this ad, the way that it's laid out. I could start with the focal point of an ad. When we look at a printed work, our eye typically goes to the page on the right and toward the middle and bottom. And that would make our focal point here the bowl of cereal and the box of Special K. Designers know what they're doing, right? People go to school for this. So I might want to start with the bowl of cereal, the numbers behind it, and then go to the text in the box of Special K. So you could organize your description in order of importance. And you also want to work with the stuff that's adjacent to it, just for ease of describing. If you're describing something and you jump all over the page, it's really hard to follow. So you don't want to do that. So things to think about when you are writing your description. Make sure you sum up any text in the ad. If there's a lot of text, don't reproduce it in your description. Right here, the only text in this ad is grams of protein under the giant 15, fills you up, keeps you going, and do what's delicious. Would I quote all of that in my description? Sure. There's not much there, so that text is pretty important. If you're working with something like a pharmaceutical ad, and I don't have one in here, those often have these like paragraphs of information. You don't need to put all that in there. So go with what's most important, or sum up what's there. If you need to say that there's 3 paragraphs of side effects at the bottom, you could do that. So text matters. The background matters. Here is just a blue background, so we would mention that. But if there's a different background, maybe they're outside, tell us what that background is and describe it. Don't just tell me they're outside. Where are they outside? Are they outside in a field? Is it a beautiful sunny day? Are they in a park? What What is it? If you tell me there's a person in the ad, what does that person look like? Be really specific. Here's an example of one of those pharmaceutical ads I was talking about. Please, for the love of all that's holy, don't reproduce all that text. Focus on the important stuff or summarize it. So if there's a person in the ad, what do they look like? Don't tell me they're pretty or they're handsome. Those are subjective terms. We want to work with objective terms, okay? So say precisely what they look like. Say precisely what you see. Is there a dog in the ad? What does that dog look like? What are they doing? How are they posed, the person, the dog, whatever, whoever or whatever is in the ad. So positioning matters. Using precise wording. Yeah, so don't say that something is pretty or it's nice. Those are subjective terms. You know, that's going to be different for everybody. We all have different ideas about what is beautiful or what is nice. So say what you see. Does the person have a smile on their face? Are they laughing? Are they running? Are they crying? What is it that they're doing? So make sure that your description is organized and make sure it is precise and specific. So you're going to want to have at least a paragraph of description. If you have a really simple ad, one paragraph may be enough. Some of you may find yourself needing more than one paragraph. Now, we haven't talked about paragraphing yet. So what I recommend you do if you're having a hard time getting started is just to look at your description and figure out what is going to be important to include in your description. And you can bullet this out. If you're having a hard time with that, look at the questions that I ask you on the assignment. The questions are there just to prompt you to generate some information for your description. Jot down some bullet points and then turn those questions into complete sentences and turn those complete sentences into a paragraph. Okay. Now, the idea here is to submit a paragraph. You don't need to give me numbered questions or numbered answers. You want to use the information that you generate from answering those questions to create your paragraph. So you'll want to put your ideas in an order that makes sense. So, look back at that ad. How do we need to organize this? Do we need to go from most important to least? Do we need to start at the top and go to the bottom? Do we need to move left to right? Do we need to look at people and then objects and then text? Figure out what makes the most sense for your ad. Stick with that organization and make sure you're using precise, specific language. Excuse me. So you'll create that paragraph, and this goes back to what I mentioned last week. We're going to write from the inside out. We're going to create the body of this essay before we worry about the introduction, okay? So you don't need to write an introduction right now. You don't need a thesis statement right now. You can have a topic sentence for your paragraph, that sentence that's like the unifying idea, but you don't need to worry about other stuff right now. So you will turn in this description this week. I will provide feedback on it, and then you'll use that feedback to revise your description, and then in week 4, we'll work on our analysis and add that. The next week, we'll add more and finish it out, okay? So that's what we're doing right now. I'll talk a little more in another video about any issues that are coming up for you all this week. So if you have questions, concerns, if you need something covered from Inquisitive, if you're getting stuck. Last week you had editing and sentence structure. This week you've got commas. If there's a particular issue that you want me to cover in a video, I'm glad to do it. I'll talk about commas for a really long time if you need me to. So let me know what you need, and I'm absolutely glad to help. So once again, as usual, my video has gotten too long, so I'm going to stop here. I hope you all have a wonderful week. If I can help you, please let me know. Thank you for your participation and attention this week.